right. Hello, you fucks. Welcome to John Solo's Beer Brigade. I'm John Solo. You are not. You know all that shit. So, a couple things here. First off, you'll notice that Drew looks entirely different than he did before.
So I got the time wrong. It is totally my fault.
It's totally not. She's cool. So we were like slinging messages back and forth yesterday and all that fun stuff. So it's my fault. But yeah. So we're having Amy Lane. Everybody knows Amy Lane. She needs no introduction. Everybody knows Amy Lane. And yeah, I was super excited because a couple of years ago I got to meet you finally at the last GRL. And what's funny was Jody and I, my wife, we were walking around one of the signings, and we were like, I had this list of people that I'd worked for in the past, and I wanted to meet them. And you and Victoria Sue were the ones where I was like, holy shit, I get to meet these people? This is fucking awesome. So I got to walk over and finally meet you. And you had no idea who I was. And it was perfect because why the fuck would you? So this year, the same thing. You didn't remember my face, but then you saw my name and you're like, oh, okay. So you knew me, which is fucking awesome.
I did.
So,
okay. Victoria Sue is actually much more impressive than I am. So it's cool that you remember that.
I don't know, I don't know if there's a scale or a level, but she's a badass.
Oh, yeah. She is badass in terms of, she makes an impression. Well, part of it is that we're American and she's got the British accent, and that turns everybody's key. So. Yeah,
I know. I still can't fake that fucking accent. I just started working on some of her books again, and I'm super excited about that.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. I'm stoked about it. So, first off, you were like, and this is gonna come out wrong. You're like an old con dog. So,
yes.
You've been doing these for a while. So how many GRLs have you done?
Have no idea.
Yeah, a lot.
I've skipped a couple. I am an old con dog. Okay. A long time ago, back before dirt and dinosaurs. But when gay romance first became kind of a thing.
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But this is I guess it was literally 10 years ago. Damon Suede, who wrote Hothead, he's known primarily for Hothead. He basically was talking to a bunch of us, and he's like, y'all, you can't hide in the shadows. You have to put on the prom dress, put on the tiara, and go out and be the queens and represent. So you have to go to Romantic Times. You have to go to RWA. You have to go to the cons. You have to be visible because we have nothing to hide. And for some reason, I was one of the people he wanted to put on a prom dress and a tiara. And frankly, that was never a problem in high school. Nobody ever wanted me to put on a prom dress and tiara. And I'm like, I teeter in heels. This thing is wrinkled to shit. Okay. When I actually did, I went to one prom in high school, and my stepmom and my best friend gave me etiquette lessons for 3 hours because they're like, don't order salad because you'll drop it on yourself. Don't order soup because you'll drop it on yourself. Don't order steak because you'll get some in your teeth. Don't. And I'm like, what can I eat? They're like,
don't eat.
Don't. And then I or whatever it was I ordered, I remember it, I went to slice and it skated right across the table onto my dress. I'm like, okay, they were right. Should've just gone hungry. But so that was me in the prom dress and the tiara. And I ended up okay, you do have to put on makeup, Amy. You do have to you cannot wear t-shirt and jeans all the time.
That's bullshit.
Well, okay, the thing with the t-shirt and the jeans, the very first GRL I ever attended, I had a t-shirt made with my book covers for all 4 or 5 days because I thought that would be great promotion. And I was showing my husband my Facebook pics, and I'm like, does it look too bad? And he goes, well, that shirt you're wearing isn't flattering, but everything else is great.
Wow.
And once again, I was like, fuck. So suddenly I started haunting the websites that had my size and my color. And it was like, okay, okay. And on the one hand, it's great. It pushed me. Okay. When I was a teacher, I was famous for knowing how to wear jeans and a t-shirt for every occasion. Okay, I was great at it because yes, you have to dress up for this. Okay, I'll wear a denim skirt. Yeah, and it pushed me out of that comfort zone, and that was good. and to learn how to speak to people like I should be speaking to people. It's one thing in front of a group of kids, because supposedly you've got the big girl panties and you're the grown up. Kids never believed it,
Never
but we,
works for
they would
me.
work with
Yeah.
me. We'd maintain the fiction. But to do that in front of a group of other grown ups, that's a new thing.
Dude, I can't imagine you being uncomfortable one of these. You're a force of nature. I've watched you do your thing, and I've come up and introduced myself
Yeah.
and all that fun stuff, and you didn't look very nervous to me. So but maybe it's because I've seen you after you've done these for quite a few years, but
Yeah.
I cannot imagine. Plus, you're such a big name. I mean, I don't know if I've told you the story or not. So I ran Falcon Sound Company, and when we started, we were doing a lot of work for DSP, a mutual publisher, that sort of thing. Nick J. Russo, I don't know if you know him. or
Oh,
not.
I love Nick Russo. He's done a lot of my books.
Fuck yeah, he has.
Yeah.
And when we first started, his very first one that he got, and I cannot remember the name of this book for the life of me. It was Race something.
Racing the Sun.
Thank you very much.
Racing for the Sun.
We were really nervous because this was maybe Nick's second or third book he'd ever done.
Mm-hmm.
I'd only done like 3 or 4 too. We were all new. We were making this up as we go along, and we started looking up Amy Lane. And you're kind of a big deal in the industry. You've been around a while. You a lot of people know who you are. Okay, just
Okay.
take that for what it is.
I'll take that for what it is.
So we were looking around. We were like, "Holy shit! This is kind of a big deal novel. This is a lot bigger than anything that we've done thus far." Nick goes into it, and he prepped himself.
Did he? I did
fingers
not
and the
know he
whole nine.
prepped.
Yeah, so prepped himself, and he comes in, and he has several different. This is a first person narration book, so he's got to narrate it in the character's voice, and he comes in with a couple different voices. And the first one didn't hit, the second one didn't hit, and we're just going through them right and left. Then he hits on the southern accent thing.
Yeah.
Which really, I don't even remember if it was necessarily described in the book as that, but he nailed it. It was fucking perfect. And I got like chills on my arms. And we're like, okay, let's roll with that. Let's do it. I don't know, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, or something like that, the book comes out, and suddenly Nick J. Russo is like a big name in the industry. I mean, it hit because of that book. So Nick being connected to your name changed his career in the beginning. You might not have known this, but
I did not know that.
absolutely the case for us. And because Nick was associated with my company, Falcon
Yeah.
Sound, Amy Lane was one of the first big names that we got associated with. So you propelled my career.
That makes me proud. That goes in the good on me column.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, you-
Thanks for telling me that. That's wonderful. Because I got to tell you, you listen to a lot of auditions, right? And that first line of Racing for the Sun was one of, you have favorite moments. It's one of the favorite things I've ever written because
It was a
you've
great
got
book.
the image of Jasper Anderson Atchison. People call me Ace. I am driving a souped up Ford show through the desert
It's a great intro.
with a girl, a girl in the seat next to me. I am a murderer and a thief, and if Sonny still loves me when this is over, I will call myself a good man. And that, to me, I'm like, damn, that was fun. Just
yeah.
writing that, and because that was the first line I wrote, and then I'm like, okay, now I got to live up to this. And when I heard him read it, I'm like, ooh, just chills.
Oh, yeah.
Because it just gave me chills. And he nailed the accent. And I know it was kind of Southern. Live in California and explaining California to people is hard. It's starting to come across. They're starting to do political maps because I talk about the Northern California Bible Belt a lot.
Okay.
And Ace is from the Northern California Bible Belt.
Okay.
And there is a Southern accent. There is you can hear it. There is a relation. There has been an immigration from the South up towards the central parts of California, the more rural parts, and the Northern. And so he nailed the accent. And more importantly, he nailed that attitude that Ace and Sonny, never thought they had much going for them. And so in the end, a garage in the middle of the desert was really their dream. And that was really wonderful.
It was so good all the way, and it came around. Now, he kept working with you through DSP, and then I
Yeah.
don't even know if he kept... I don't know how all that worked.
If
but-
I could afford him, I would totally. I'd hire him all the time.
Well, that's another good point.
Yeah.
We are not cheap.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Well, you shouldn't be because you put on beautiful productions. So that's
Well,
well done.
but Nick continued and caught a couple more of your books. I can't remember the rock star one he did. There was a
Beneath
band.
the Stain.
Dude, that was a huge deal for us. Again,
That was a huge fucking book.
oh yeah, no, it was very girthy.
Yes, it was, and veiny.
But it hit, it went well, and really, I think that not only were you a key to my success with my company at the time, which I don't employ other actors at this point. I'm doing the John Solo thing. That's all I have time for. But in the beginning, that's what we were doing. That's how I made a living, and you made a huge difference in my life. And thank you. But also in Nick's career too. Nick was able to then he worked for me for about a year and a half. That's where he started, and then he moved on and started his own studio and did his own thing.
Yeah.
All based on the propelling of. You got broad shoulders, and we were able to kind of hop on them for a little while. It was awesome.
I am glad that because having my stuff in audio meant it was a huge deal to me. I was teaching at a high school for a very long time, and they essentially fired me because I wrote gay romance.
Right.
And the idea, I am one of the few romance writers who have had 2 lawyers call me up at home and say, I've read this entire book. Where's the porn? And to which I've replied, that is my fucking question. Anyway, so for me, audiobooks was legitimacy. You know, audiobooks and translations, that was super important to me. Paperback books, you know, all the traditional and extended trappings of the literary agency were more bricks in the wall of not porn. And also romance is a legitimate genre. So to have you guys, you know, because you are known, Falcon Studios are known for their quality. To have you guys produce my books and to have them sound so good and so professional was amazing.
There's a funny story behind that, by the way. So Falcon Studios is what I wanted to name the company. And I was telling the story yesterday. It turns out, and when I started out, I wasn't even in audiobooks. I was just an audio engineer, and I ran sound for bands and at nightclubs and that sort of thing. That's what I did. I wanted to be Falcon Studios because I also had a recording studio. It turns out Falcon Studios produces gay porn. I didn't know this at the time. Yeah, I had no clue. So I'm like,
did anybody tell you?
No. So
that's so sad. I'm so
I
sorry.
Googled it, and I was like, I'd already done the cards, and I was like all excited, and I was like, motherfucker, this. So little did I know years later, and it's Falcon Sound Company at this point, but years later, I would be producing gay porn
Gay
books.
porn?
Yeah.
Gay romance books, yes. That's funny. Falcon
yeah.
Studios and Falcon Studios.
That was one of the first run-ins with that I had. Another thing that happened to us with your books in particular. So my wife Jody, my lovely wife Jody, who's normally at our GRLs. Hi baby. She's not. I'm waving at you.
Hi,
Jody. She wasn't able to come this year. So you were one of our first angst queens as well. So she had a tissue box on her desk, and she was doing all the proofing for the book. So we recorded them, and she'd go back and proof them all. And she finally, one day I walk in and I see she's taking a picture. Her tissue box says Amy Lane on it.
Oh,
yeah.
that is funny because I never set out to write angst. And people, oh gosh, I had an audiobook, an audiobook reader. Oh shit. Name escapes me. If he came up and introduced himself, I would remember.
Words
his
are
name.
hard.
Well, I was thinking, I'm thinking, oh, this is my Manny series. This is light and adorable. And he emailed me and said, this was great. I cried in the second chapter. And I'm like, the hell?
Is this the right book?
and I guess, and Sean Kristen, was my first audiobook narrator. He did Keeping Promise Rock, which was it wasn't my very first book, but it was, my first one on audio and I think my first big breakthrough. And two things. Okay. one was at one of these at the GRL in San Diego. He actually came up and introduced himself and told me that I was the only one who'd ever made him break. Okay, and apparently the scene with the broken levees, dead horses, and driving while gay. Just yeah, I hear a couple of ohs. Yeah, rest in peace, Comet. I'm so sorry I did that to you. I killed the horse. Okay, apparently,
Such a cheap
I
move.
broke my narrator. Apparently, he couldn't edit out the part where his voice broke.
Well, Sean is, you know that Sean is also, he always wanted to be a cowboy.
Oh,
I don't know if you knew that
I
about
didn't
Sean or
know
not.
that
Do you
about
know, do you
Sean.
remember his hat? Like he was wearing a
Yes.
fucking cowboy hat. That's
Yeah,
one of his, he always wanted to be a cowboy. So yeah,
Oh, I loved him. He was so sweet.
you hit him in the guts. Is
I
what you
did. I ripped his dick off. Oh, I'm so sorry, Sean.
I wouldn't go that far, but I'm,
But the other thing was, and this is when my children were younger, because I have 4 children.
keep going, Amy. I
Okay.
have to adjust the camera angle because
All
I
right.
suck.
But this is
So-
when my children were younger, because I have 4 kids, and I was like, oh my God, I have my first audiobook. I have my first audiobook files, and let's listen to it on the computer. And it was the opening scene where they're in the desert, and they're about to get blown up. Crick is about to get blown up for in that opening chapter. And it's fuck this and fuck that and fuck. And my husband looks at me and goes, God damn it. I know you know more words than that.
I'm not sure that you do.
1 or 2.
I love about your style in particular. You write like you speak, which is an amazing thing to me. It's also a challenge to narrate at first because your narration, not characters talking, but
Yeah.
just the actual, what do you call it? There's a technical word for the stuff where the characters aren't talking. I don't know.
Exposition.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Your exposition is written like you speaking. Oftentimes, not always in every book we've done,
Yeah.
but a lot of them. I worked on a couple of your Manny book series as well.
Oh.
And because there was I don't know, 3 or 4 of those. I forget. I think
There's
I'd-
4.
I think I did 1 or 2 of them, and those are some of my first Amy Lane books that I actually narrated. And I jumped in, and it took me a second to find the flow of it because it is like you speaking. It's amazing to me, and it's a unique style. Not everybody does that. It's very cool. Where did you start writing? I know you've been a teacher for a long time, but I've not heard this story, and I'm sure you've told it 1,000 times because everybody asks, where did you start? But where did you start writing? Where did you get into this?
Let's see. In high school, I used to write poems and make pictures to them. No,
Cox?
no, yeah, actually, oh my God, in high school, I wrote a 24-page epic poem, handwritten. You guys have to see my handwriting to realize how sadistic it was. I made everybody read it. I mean, it was just cruel. It was truly, truly evil. No, I have always written stories.
Okay.
When I actually started, let's see, I have some moldy Harlequin manuscripts that I sent to Harlequin. I knew nothing about the publishing company. All I knew was that I was reading them by the Scads, and I started writing my own. You hear classically trained actors. I'm a classically trained English major. And that means that, okay, and I don't know if they would do this anymore. I had so many units in English and I was short a couple in humanities that they almost made me get a master's degree. They weren't going to let me graduate with a bachelor's. If I had to take 3 more units, it would have put me over the edge that I would have had a master's degree and no bachelor's.
Does that cost more?
Oh, fuck yes. Okay, I have no it's okay. My folder looked like it had been through a war. It had a name change, 3 different colleges, but I got my degree, and but that many units, and then I have that plus 75 units.
Wow.
And so I've got, a shit ton of absolutely fucking useless education at my disposal. And I taught English for 18 years.
I bet you rock at Jeopardy.
My husband and I are unbeatable. He's got like sports. We both have movies.
Yeah.
I have, yeah.
Jody's an English lit major, my wife, and she's the same deal. Like it's turned out not to be useless. Just as you're a writer now, so you're using your education.
I am using my education.
Jody took the long way around too before she ended up being a proofer for an audiobook company, and that's a damn good use of her skill set.
Yes.
But it took a while, to
Yeah.
get there. English lit degrees are. I think they're Bachelor of Arts. Is that what they're actually? Yeah. Which means
Bachelor of Arts in English Literature.
Yeah, you mean you know a lot about a lot. That's kind of the way that works.
Know a
So,
lot about a lot, and unless you're teaching or writing, we've done both.
Yeah.
You really have no other skill set.
So I know you've been doing romance for at least 10 years. Did you write anything prior to getting into this genre?
Yes. I self-pubbed back in the day, self-pubbing wasn't Kindle Unlimited. Back in the day, self-pubbing was typing up a manuscript, sending it via post to 6 different people to have them proof it. Okay, because there weren't the right. And then getting it back. And my first it was the Little Goddess series, and it was Menage, MMF, and it was it was the weirdest fucking thing. I was writing, and it was before Twilight, and I emphasize before Twilight,
Right.
way before Twilight. I was writing a gas station clerk in nowhere fucking USA, and people kept wandering in the middle of the night, and she's like, "They're not human." And she was working her way through college, and nobody expected her to go anywhere. And if it sounds semi-autobiographical, yes, I made my way through school. Nobody thought I was going to graduate. They all thought I was too dumb to graduate. Well, ADHD
wait.
and girls is
Semi-autographical because are you a vampire?
No, no. I was going to say that it was the chubby hostile girl working the nowhere job, because I was working at McDonald's at the time. That's when I met my husband, which he was also working at McDonald's.
2 winners.
Yeah. He's an engineer now, so
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's amazing what your people working at McDonald's are actually doing.
That's where I started. That's where I started. Same deal. But yeah,
I want to do fist bump.
Yeah, but my mom keeps on telling me, when are you going to get a real job? Like,
if it pays the rent, for me, if it pays the rent, it's a real job.
Exactly. Sorry, I keep on derailing you.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. But anyway, so I had written these 7 books, 4 books based on that, and then 2 that were epic fantasy. The 2 that are epic fantasy were eventually broken up into 2 books each, because it was a grand total of 450,000 words, and it was a complete story.
All sent off like typewriter style. Is that how you did this? I mean, it's been a little while.
It was, they were printed out. It was a computer, but they were printed out, and I self-pubbed them through a self-publishing company. Those fuckers can rot in hell.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's like you pay money for them to do a service, basically. So you pay them to finish off and distribute.
And they give you a 10% royalty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they made a lot of money off of me. They did, because Vulnerable has sold a lot of copies. That was my first book.
Mm-hmm.
And it sold a lot of copies through them, and I made this much money. Yeah, I know. But the thing was that I did start making money, and it was really surprising, because I remember the first time, because I'm a knitter. And I have a fetish for super high price yarn, and I would take my $50 royalty check to the yarn store, and then I took my $100 royalty check to the yarn store, and then I looked at my $300 royalty check, and my husband's like, "We have to pay electric," and so it went from rent money to bill money, and then it went to big bill money. We did have a cat that I changed his name to Royalty Check, because he went in to get his teeth checked, and then he ended up costing us like $700-800, and that money wasn't going to go to my son's prom. We ended up taking that out of savings.
Holy shit.
Okay, because I was teaching part time.
Yeah.
My husband's an engineer, but I was teaching part time, and we had 4 kids. And by the way, that makes you teaching part time earns you jack and shit.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, so what happened? You had one child, and then I mean, I'm a slow learner. I'm just teasing you. I'm sorry.
no, I know. Do you know? You want to know something funny? In my high school yearbook, it says that what do you want to do? Where do you see yourself? I said I see myself as an actress. I couldn't master the diet part of being an actress, but I love being on stage. But I see myself as an actress with 6 little actors and actresses, and my
Yeah.
husband. And we were aiming for 6, and we fell short by 2.
Well, there's still time.
No,
There's like,
the baby machine is shut down. Thank God. Okay, that's the only good thing about having to use a dye bottle to be a redhead again.
you have hair, so
Yes.
show off. We're coming up. You got to get down to you're doing an author lounge. Is
Yes,
that-
I'm doing
okay.
author lunch.
Cool. So you sit at a table and people come and they talk to you and you sign things and all that. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to get down to one yet. I did walk around to the signing for a minute because I was doing the bracelet deal. But
It's almost like a mini signing, except you're devoting more of your time to saying hi, and which is great. Cons, you started out talking about Con World and being new to Con World. The thing about Con World is that we follow each other around. And we, there are people and friends that you see once a year or twice a year, and you see them in a con. And so because there's a lot of them, the lounge is your chance to connect with them, which
Okay.
is why it's a nice idea.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I understand now. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate
It's
it.
my
It's good to see you.
It was very good to see you.
Yeah. I say bye to the crowd and you wave, and then I hit this little outro video, and then I will invite you. See you later, folks. We're having, I believe, Andrew Gray in about a half hour, and then another Drew Gibson after that. So I will see you all soon.